Great, thank you, Jeff. I'm really happy to be here again and to talk to you about some more brick wall tips. It was interesting for me to listen to the poll results. For the first poll, 81% of you said you thought that your brick wall was solvable. Well, 19 of you didn't think it was solvable. And I don't know if you're just being pessimistic or you've just given up hope or you have some inside information and you know for sure that it's not solvable. I have a few brick walls myself that I definitely get discouraged about, but I haven't quite reached the point where I think that they're not solvable. I'm not quite sure if they're solvable in my lifetime, but I am still holding out hope that at some point they will be. But for those of you who do think it's solvable, I'm hoping that maybe the tips that we learn about today will help you get further along in your goal towards resolving that. Now, in terms of the problems, I'm not really surprised that 64% of you are listing missing records. That's, I would expect to be typical. That's a real serious problem, and I will be talking about that a bit during this webinar. 49% of you can't make a connection, and I think that that is something that is surmountable, something that you can overcome. It's a matter of you finding the right information or the right documents. So maybe we'll get you a little bit further along in that direction. As for the 58% of you who don't know where else to look, definitely, I think some of the ideas that I'm going to talk about today will help you with that. And for those of you who said, 88% of you who said you haven't tried everything, that's good. I'm glad the number was that high. You know, in all honesty, none of us could really ever try everything. I think it's impossible. There's always something more out there to try that we haven't tried yet, and we just don't know about it yet. So we just got to stay optimistic with these brick walls. So here we are again with 10 more tips to help you in your genealogical research. I can't tell, you know, from staring at my computer screen how many of you are here with me in February when we talked about brick wall tips for beginners. And then, of course, we followed up in July with the research plans. Today is an extension of those research tips. So we're going to take it a little bit further. I can't give you specific answers to your individual brick walls, but what I can do is provide you with tips and strategies to stretch your thinking, change your research habits maybe a little bit, and help you to challenge your analysis. So as you're listening to this webinar today, I want to encourage you to ask yourselves these questions. Have I checked these resources that Marian is mentioning? Have I used this methodology? Have I tried it? Have I broadened my analysis with the way she's suggesting? And can I apply this to my research? And I think the last one there is the most important one. How can I take these tips and apply them to my research? And I'm going to say the same thing again now as I said the last time. If I use examples and they happen to be from New England, it doesn't matter. The tips will pertain to any part of the world or the United States. You just need to take the example and apply it to your region in your personal situation. All of our brick walls are individual. They all have specific nuances, and they all need to be dealt with in a unique way. And what we need to do are take tips and methodologies that are broad and apply them to our unique situations. And that's what I'm hoping to do with the 10 tips that I'm going to give you today. So the first one that we're going to talk about is get professional help. And I know I started off last time saying review your documentation. And I know, again, some of you were rolling your eyes then, and then you said, wow, she had some pretty good ideas. So bear with me on this one as well. We talked about reviewing your research, and I had also talked about in the last brick wall webinar about verbally discussing your research with another person as 2 ways to get a jump start. Well, not all occasions that's going to work. Sometimes you need to take it another step further. You need to get a professional level consultation in order to help you through an issue. But the good news is there are many different ways that you can get professional help. There's not just one specific way of hiring a researcher and that's it. I've got a couple of the ways listed here, and we're going to talk through each one of these. So the first one is conference consultations. There's an awful lot that you can do at a conference. These can be local conferences, regional conferences, national conferences, whatever you have available to you. Make the most of these conferences to gain access to professionals who can give you insight into your brick walls and help you with resolving your research challenges. One of the things that you can do is a one-on-one Ancestor Roadshow consultation. And I'm not sure if all of you have heard about an Ancestors Roadshow, so I'll just explain it to you a little bit. I think what it comes from is it's a takeoff of the Antiques Roadshow, which we've all seen on TV. And it's a one-on-one consultation where an attendee at a conference meets with a professional who's volunteering their services. The attendee presents one challenge, one problem, not their whole genealogy, just one specific issue. They give that to the genealogical consultant, and then the professional helps them with that, gives them suggestions, gives them ideas of how they can work through it. And it's a really great experience for both parties involved. And some of the attendees really walk away with some great insight as to what they can do next. A lot of times they just need somebody else looking at it or give them a nudge in the right direction. And it's a really great concept. So look out for that whenever you go to a conference. If you don't have it at a conference near you, you might suggest it to the organizers that they set up something like that, because they're very popular. Another way that you can gain access to a professional genealogist is to chat with them after they give a talk at a conference. And I want to stress the after part. Don't try to talk to a speaker before they give a talk. They're very focused and they want to prepare for the delivery and to do a good presentation to the group. And sometimes you'll interrupt their train of thought if you try to talk to them beforehand. So if they stick around while they're putting away their projector and such, go up and talk to them a little bit. Don't get too detailed. Make sure you're prepared, know exactly what you want to ask them, and make sure that they are the right person with the right expertise to answer your question, because you wouldn't want to waste somebody's time asking them about Polish research when you're asking them a question about British research. So make sure if you're going to talk to a professional genealogist after talk, that you focus in on the right genealogist and you do your timing right. And keep it brief, no more than 5 minutes, especially if other people are waiting to speak to the speaker. But in some cases, it can be a really great opportunity to catch the ear of a professional who has particular expertise in an area that you need it. If you can't talk to somebody after a talk, or perhaps somebody is not speaking on the topic that you need at a conference, you can still find on-site experts. And I know in April 2011, I was at the New England Regional Genealogical Conference, and there was an attendee there who needed help with Rhode Island research. And they were able to connect with the management of the conference, such as like the hospitality chairperson, the registration chair, I was the publicity chair. Any of these people who represent the conference, these people are very well versed in knowing who all the speakers are at a conference, as well as the attendees. Sometimes you'll have professionals attending a conference who aren't actually speaking at the conference. And if you need some expert advice and you just want to run it by somebody, if you talk to somebody from the conference, from the management of the conference, they can connect you with this person. If the person has time in their schedule and they're agreeable to meeting with you, you can arrange a time to sit down and talk to them for 10 or 20 minutes, just kind of like a private one-on-one Ancestors Roadshow. I think a lot of people don't know that you can do that. You certainly wouldn't want to abuse that, But if you have a very interesting, challenging brick wall that happens to fall in somebody's expertise, I'm sure they would be delighted to talk to you about it. I think professional genealogists love to sort of grapple the more interesting projects, and that's why they would be willing to listen to you for a little while. Another place that you can encounter professional expertise is in the exhibition hall, believe it or not. I know a lot of people go in there just to check out the books and all the latest technology and to buy your legacy webinar CDs, but you can find a lot of experts in the exhibition hall, particularly around these society tables. Many of the people manning the society tables are professional genealogists. Even the booksellers are extremely good genealogists themselves, probably professionals, though some of them might not be taking clients. And if you are in the exhibition hall at a time, especially when things are quiet and most of the people are out listening to talks, you could really gain access to some wonderful expertise and discussion from the folks in there. So this gives you a little bit of flavor of some ways that you can access professionals at a genealogical conference, but there's other ways to get it as well. A very low-cost way to gain access to a professional consultation, so to speak, is to read a peer-reviewed journal such as the National Genealogical Society Quarterly, which we call the NGSQ. Now, this is an American magazine. This is what I'm familiar with, but I'm sure that they have equivalents in the UK or in Australia or New Zealand, and I'm not sure about continental Europe, but this is what I'm familiar with. You need to just find out what it is that's available for your region, because I'm sure there must be something equivalent. And these journals, particularly the NGSQ, are presented to guide readers through genealogical challenges and help them understand how to solve them. Another option are regional or local peer-reviewed journals. Here in New England, we have the New England Historic Genealogical Society Register, and that is primarily focused on New England and New York, which is my main area, and that is also beneficial. One of the best things about, well, particularly in the case of the NGSQ, the focus on that journal really is guidance on problem solving. So if you have brick walls and you're in the United States and you haven't read that yet, you need to read that, because it's all about how to solve genealogy challenges probably in ways you haven't thought about yet. And the more of these you learn, the more that you read, you will learn, and you'll just become a better genealogical researcher. Now, the peer-reviewed journals in the local areas, they're not as focused on teaching. They're more focused on presenting new scholarship. However, you're going to get a lot of information from these journals as well, because they're so professionally written and because of the footnotes. So when you're reading these more regional peer-reviewed journals, you want to really pay close attention to the footnotes, because those are going to be potential sources for you to get information about your ancestors, because we're going to assume that with the regional journals, your ancestors are in that same region, perhaps in that same time period. Maybe there are sources you didn't even know about, and you're going to find them in the footnotes of these journals, and that is just going to be send you in all new directions. Another place that you can get help from professionals is even beyond the peer-reviewed journal, just in the regular genealogy magazines. Seek out brick wall stories. Many magazines have columns where either they hire people to write articles or the audience writes in about how they have solved their brick walls. I have learned the most incredible things just from these little brick wall columns, how people have solved their issues. And many of them follow in the same kind of pattern